Previously on Dungeons and Dragons. Our intrepid adventurers, recently introduced, made their way towards a vestibule, more specifically the penumbral vestibule, deep within. Oh, I don't have my map in front of me, guys. I already fucked up. Deep within the Black Mire in the northeastern territories of Astoria, just on the edge of Soma. And as we saw them kind of step out onto the black pane glass surface that is the floor of this petrified forest, and they approached the penumbral vestibule, we saw as one by one, each and every one of them stepped out. And just, again, because I like to do this for the first couple sessions, if everyone could remind me and everybody else of what their characters look like and their names. So I'm just going to go in order of my Discord. So, Aaron, if you'd like to go first.
Okay, let's see. How do I start this? Aaron Aaron Deathfoot. He's a Lightfoot halfling. He's got like a mess of dirty blonde hair. It's like unkept, and it's just dirty. He's basically looks like he's been living on the street for a very long time. So his clothes are tattered. They don't really match too well in a sense. Like, he's got certain pieces from one, set of gear and another piece from another set, if that makes sense. And he's got a dark hooded jacket, basically, leathers, belts, and stuff like that. And he's got blue eyes. And he's got like a baby Bjorn kind of thing, like a satchel. And in the satchel, there's a big compared to him because he's a halfling, mouse. It's pretty decent sized mouse, but he's got a little mouse that hangs out with him. The mouse is dark gray and white, and about the same like his hair. It's just a big mess of fluff, So they kind of match a bit in that aspect. And then if you notice the mouse more, he's missing part of his tail, but he's got everything else. Both of his ears are fine and all that good stuff. All the whiskers are there. So, anyways, that's our Deathfoot.
Beautiful. And we saw Aaron kind of step out onto the black plain glass, and then following suit, John, if you'd like to describe your character.
Character is like a 3-foot grung, which is like a frog race. You can't really see much of him because he's wrapped in a bunch of big cloth bandage-like material, and he has one of those cloths has holes for goggles. So just kind of like a little mummy-looking like frog kind of a thing. Just a little dude, very small, 3 foot, frog skin.
And his name?
Gregert.
Gregert. Wonderful. And we see Gregert kind of step out onto the black plain glass. And Chris, if you'd be so kind, will you please describe your character and give us his name?
Yeah, so Archimedes Dust Digger, when you see him, he's got kind of a nice white goatee with a big giant white mustache. He wears some round glasses. He's wearing what looks like a nice suit that's got like a duster jacket around it. The jacket's got some modifications, like leather modifications. So like the collar is leather. On his chest, he wears some like gold chains attached to like a watch, and he wears some cool like steampunk style like goggles on his forehead that can be used for his archaeology.
Beautiful. I love it. And we see Archimedes kind of step out, kind of brush off his duster as you kind of step past a nearby petrified tree, as you kind of duck under and straighten yourself up from a nearby petrified branch. And Logan, if you would be so kind, will you please describe your character and give us his name?
So, stepping out from behind Archimedes, you see Bo Hondor, another halfling. He's 3 feet and 1 inch tall. He has dirty blonde hair, blue eyes, an unkempt beard going. He's actually wearing pretty nice armor. It's not very tattered or worn, but it's pretty simple, just chainmail and leathers. With some simple leather boots, and he's got a massive woodcutter's axe. Well, massive in his hands, on his back, like a woodcutting axe.
Beautiful. And we see him kind of step outright as well, and from there, eventually, one by one, after it was signaled to be safe by Aram,
You're missing one more member or a party walks out.
Yes, we also see stepping out the familiar sight now of Arthur Lancer, adorned in chainmail, definitely a different make than yours. Shit, I don't have your character pulled up.
Borg.
Vorg or Borg? What campaign are you in, Borg?
Borjo.
Borjo.
It's French.
Okay, Borjo. There we go.
Campaign anyway. I should be in the.
I found you. Bor. I'm gonna call you Bor for short. Borjo. I'm trying to think of another shortened version of that. Borg. Just Borg.
Bo.
Okay, I like Bo.
Doesn't matter if you like our name.
No, it's just for the sake of brevity. It's for the sake of brevity. I am an amorphous entity. I'm not an NPC talking to you. I am just the watcher. I do not interfere. All right. No, but that's the wrong track. There we go. We watch as Bo steps out, and following suit, we see Arthur, adorned in kind of what could have been once fine armor that seems to have just naturally aged from the passage of time. Kind of stepping out, you see, what does Arthur look like? He appears to be human. He's got no descriptors of any kind on D&D Beyond.
Thanks.
Check the Discord to see his picture. I guess. Whenever that was. It was a long while ago. Oh no, maybe. Definitely doesn't have armor that looks like that, because that's super intense. But more comparable to the chainmail underneath. And on his back you see a shield and spear. And that's pretty much it. I thought he had a sword.
Pretty sure he has a pike. I think he was using a pike.
A spear. I think he uses a spear or something.
Okay.
Maybe a glaive.
It's either a spear or a pike.
He has a pike and a spear equipped, so it's got to be one or the other. So I'm assuming pike.
He doesn't have a shield, though. Right?
He has a shield in his inventory, and it's equipped, so that his AC should be reflecting it.
Shield. He was using a shield last game too.
I think he was swinging the pike, though, is what he was calling out. But
Yeah.
neither here nor there. He has his 2 long weapons on his back with a shield.
Yeah, we see as you guys are approaching the penumbral vestibule, him kind of pull his shield out and pike in hand as you all approach, and Aram waves you to the safety of the front doors of the building. Together, you manage to open the door. It was quite heavy, but you guys collectively managed to push it open and found a kind of open area, squared off chamber, seemingly made of all the same sort of rough black stone that the outer areas of the vestibule looked aesthetically. There was a number of kind of broken ceramic jars, empty, filled with dust, and a staircase that seemed to lead downward. You, Aram, traveled further still, and tried to investigate to see if there were any sort of pressure plates, trip wires, anything like that. Things that you have experience with. Unfortunately, none were detected. And as you stepped out onto the first platform, it seemed to trigger the 2 very macabre suns crafted of skulls and bones into the walls. Like the whole walls are filled with bones, very Catacombs of Paris style. But they're right on the actual platforms, and you notice there were 3 going down the staircase. Both suns made from these bones illuminated, unleashing bursts of light. In kind of instinctual response, as you were kind of thrown by the spell and harmed by the suns, you, Bo, ran forward, I believe, and collected Aram and started running to try to ensure that if there were more triggered traps, that you would get Aram out of the way, and everybody, you kind of were sort of almost kind of pushed down or tripped down these stairs as you guys were kind of rushed towards the next platform, triggering another trap. Everyone's surviving, taking I think a bit of damage. Each of you managed to discern the nature of these traps, and as you made it to the 3rd landing, destroyed the sun-like insignias within the walls, disarming the traps and allowing safety to safely pass through that area. You entered a massive chamber filled with really just a singular, almost podium-like, post in the center of this chamber, kind of framed by this massive, almost mural-like depiction on these 2 grand doors on the opposite sides of the chamber, and there in the center, a large crystal orb that's, kind of oscillated at the very top of this pillar, and eventually realizing it was a crystalline eye of sorts. It saw, I believe, I don't recall who was the first one to be seen, but it saw your party, attempted to attack the intruders, but I believe with some quick attacks at that point, you managed to shatter said crystal eye and allow safety in this chamber. While attempting to dodge the crystal eyes, almost arcane lasers as they were kind of being issued out, a number of you took shelter behind a number of different alcoves within this chamber, and while taking cover, I believe one of you noticed that the floor on the ground seemed to have a regular scuff or scrape mark of a kind of a semicircular pattern, and realized that the wall itself might be some sort of false door. After a bit more investigation, after disposing of the crystal, as you guys were kind of investigating that door, you did manage to open it, and I believe at the time, Archimedes, you were pulling out...
I believe it was me and Borjo were at the door.
I believe so. And Borjo kind of aided in kind of pulling the door as you were kind of aiding and kind of releasing kind of a resistant latch, as it were, and you guys managed to get that door open. At the same time, Archimedes prepared his lantern, his lamp, and you provided a bit of fuel. He managed to get a small glimpse at the massive door at the other end of this chamber, a small bit of depiction. He didn't really quite get too terribly many details as Bo started to make his way into the recently revealed northern chamber behind the false wall. I believe a moment later, Arn followed followed behind, and then Archimedes followed suit, and Gregor, you came into the chamber last. At the time that, of course, Bo had entered the chamber, there was a clattering of bones to the ground, seemingly falling out of the northern sides of these different pillars. And as they started to coalesce and come together and disperse across the room, you all got into an intense fight with 5 skeletons, but with some quick thinking and some pretty decent spells and rolls, managed to make quick number and destroy and shatter these bones as they were attacking you with their rusted weapons. And as the final skeleton was struck down and its bones clattered across the stone floors of this ossuary, that is where we are now.
And just as a quick, did we take a short rest at the end of last session, or were we going to at the start of this session?
That's up to you guys now, basically. Are you going to try to take a short rest?
I just don't remember. Did anybody take one last session or no?
I think we should. Pretty beat up. Yeah, I'm looking pretty bloody and stuff.
Yeah, you look a little worse for wear.
Yeah.
Take a breather.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's rest before we go forward.
We just need to be careful where we're at, because this place already has shown it's just full of danger. Yeah, I wasn't expecting anything quite like this. You know, this is just too much. And I just kind of slump against one of the pillars or something, and just kind of lay down and just start trying to heal, I guess, rest.
Yeah, I mean, it basically takes an hour to do a short rest, so if you guys want to kind of chill in this chamber.
Okay.
And are you guys kind of doing any sort of light activity while you are resting in this ossuary? All you can hear right now as you guys kind of quietly sit in your exhaustion is just the light. Boop, psh, boop.
Casey didn't get hit at all last one?
Apparently not.
What?
I'm looking at his health, unless he was like.
I know one thing attacked him, but it missed him or something.
The skeleton he was fighting, they kept whiffing each other.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of back and forth where they kept trying to strike each other.
It was a little comical. Yeah, I think that's what I remember.
Until he finally got the solid hit. So.
All right. Well, I have his character sheet open. I was going to short rest for him, but I don't know if it's going to let me even do that. But I guess
I don't think paladins really get anything back on a short rest.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't have the buttons up top there for some reason, so... And I can't click to roll anything.
You gotta be logged in as him to do that.
Oh, I probably gotta be logged in as him. Shit.
No, I mean, I have my dice, so I can roll for him.
Okay.
I just need his stats in front of me.
I have all that.
Yeah.
I have all that. I don't have his inventory, though. Well, maybe I do. Let me see.
Yeah, you can click on inventory and look at it.
Yeah, I have inventory. All right, cool. We're good.
Yeah. I mean, you get a decent amount of informational access to their character sheets. So.
No, I have it smaller, the page smaller, so I have to open the little doggle thing on the bottom and pick whatever it is, because I have like several different windows open on this page, so
gotcha.
It's small, I guess. Okay, anyways, we're good to go. I'm a short rest.
All right. Is it anybody going to do any light activity or anything while you guys are short resting?
Yeah, I would like to just kind of sit like cross-legged and sharpen my axe, And the whole time I'm just kind of like humming a tune.
I would just be playing with my deck of cards, not really playing a game, but just like folding them, doing like little card shuffles and stuff.
Very.
I don't see if anybody notices, but
Very Gambit style.
Yeah, I'll like do the little accordion thing.
That's cool.
Give me a performance check.
Checking out
Okay,
the walls, seeing if I could see any symbols or anything else that looks out of place.
Okay. Let's see. So you're looking around this ossuary.
Yeah.
Give me an investigation check. So everybody else is kind of sitting down, relaxing. You're kind of immediately going around, looking at the walls. What did you roll in performance?
14.
14? Yeah, I mean, you do a pretty decent accordion shuffle. It's not too big, but there's definitely like a solid, like, full hand length between hands as you're doing this. So, yeah, no, solid. I think with everyone's passive perception, because I don't think you're trying to do this stealthily, I kind of almost imagine this as like a, kind of just a thing of comfort or distraction, maybe. Let's see. Nope. I'd say Archimedes, you would notice it, but you're focused on kind of investigating around the chamber. And Arthur would notice. That's quite impressive, Arthur says. And what did you roll, Chris?
17.
17. All right. So you look along the alcoves, kind of along the west wall. You see, a number of kind of crumbling or, heavily rusted or damaged weaponry. More ornamental, ceremonial weapons for burial. However, with the 17, in one of the alcoves, you find, kind of again along that west wall, contain a heap of silver coins, kind of emblazoned with the face of an unknown king. On the obverse side, and a sun sigil on the reverse. As you're kind of looking through it, it just keeps coming, and you find roughly 529 silver pieces.
Wow.
Let's see.
Can I take a perception check to see if I see him find those coins?
I'd allow that.
Actually, I want to if it's not still up, I want to recast Detect Good and Evil. Just making sure it's up this whole time.
I don't see him.
Okay.
I don't see him.
So,
Thanks.
as you trigger your ability, your eyes kind of go glossy with this kind of, well, you tell me what color tone?
Silver.
Silver. So your eyes kind of become almost mercurial for a second as you start to look around. And as you do see this kind of arlant light glow emanating from Arthur. Seemingly a more positive energy, possibly celestial.
More good than evil.
The paladin. Is that all I see?
I'm thinking. Give me a second, because I'm trying to think of our other characters here. No, yeah, that's pretty much all you're sensing here right now.
So, just offbeat, because of the world we're in, a paladin per se isn't something that's common, quite common, on a common sense. It's like they're like extinct, so to speak, because the gods are dead. Is that my understanding?
Yes and no. Paladins and clerics are definitely more rare than they are in your standard fantasy setting, 100%.
Sure.
doesn't mean that they don't exist, and it doesn't mean that the dead gods don't have followers. It just means that if they do have power, it's really usually more coming from the arch seraphs that serve those particular dead gods that are kind of helping to keep the thing going till somehow, some way, their gods can come back. They're kind of in denial. Some are also power hungry and want to be worshipped in place of the original dead gods. But
It's about time, it's their time to be.
but again, that's all above
yeah.
table. Your characters wouldn't know anything about that. per
Yeah,
se.
I'm just trying to think of the world sense. Like, would have I run into some sort of person of some sort of holy, I guess, holy, or divine background in just wandering around, the
Well,
Astoya or the towns and stuff like that,
not-
Lunsk.
Not to give anything away for Casey's character, because I'm not trying to spoil his stuff. But there are, I'm definitely a fan of taking the standard tropes or the source of things in terms of the divinity for clerics and for paladins, and in some way, shape, or form, it is from the divine, but not exactly the standard way that one would assume. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
So,
I know. I just want for my clarity's sake, but also what he would need to understand, because if it's not a common thing, then this is the first time he's seen somebody use magic to heal him. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. So it's a little bit new for him.
It's not unheard of, but especially from your background, I'd say
I probably would not have heard of it maybe once.
No, yeah,
very
vaguely. There's probably one in the city at least that provides aid, probably for government use or assistance. Maybe a small handful, like a clergy, but it's not going to be. It doesn't necessarily mean they all have magical ability.
No.
But having that touch of the divine, it is not unheard of.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just a bit more rare, I guess, is the best way to say it.
Okay. Cool.
But very good question. But as you're kind of looking around, Arthur being kind of drawn in by the shuffling of accordion back and forth, Archimedes off to the side. What did you roll for your perception?
17.
No.
Sorry. Investigation. Sorry.
I rolled a 3, so I didn't see anything. I was busy. I think Nico needed my attention. Then I didn't notice him at all.
Gotcha. So you're kind of off to the side, checking in on Nico. Then maybe giving a little snippet of rations or something. But and with the 17, Archimedes, you do also notice as you're kind of following along the room, what appears to be another door at the easternmost segment of this chamber.
Look, guys, I found a door.
It's more like a doorway.
I'll stand up and walk over to it.
Okay.
Has it been my hour rest yet?
I'll say that at this point in time, you guys sat down for a little bit, catching your breath, eating some rations.
Okay.
Go from there.
Then I guess by this point, I kind of keep with the group. I guess as we're gonna look like we're found a way through.
Okay.
What did I go up to Archimedes and Archimedes? Did you see something in the other chamber that we were just in? I noticed across the wall there was that big door, and then all hell broke loose with that crazy spinning glowing disc, and then somehow we just got pulled into this chamber with these skeletons. But I didn't get a chance to ask you, did you notice anything about that door? I noticed you have archaeology background, or like you do this stuff for a living. Do you have any idea where we need to go, sir?
I saw it. It definitely looks interesting. I'm not sure if the rest of the group wants to backtrack a bit and go check it out.
I don't have any qualms, but we just need to remember that we do have a trap that we kind of ran through. So retreat is kind of barred at the moment, if you get my drift. But
Well,
I
yeah,
think
we're not
we'll be all right.
continuing forward, but I just found this other door here in this room. Or
Okay,
doorway.
I see.
Do we go
I,
through
I
here?
walk
Or...
through the doorway.
I mean, yeah, as you guys are approaching, and the professor is kind of gesturing his lamp in that his hooded lamp in that direction. It's kind of illuminating it as you guys are approaching that doorway space. As you point at it, you see, there's kind of this life-size skeletal statue that stands vigil over this kind of small sanctuary as you guys kind of step up to the doorway and kind of better fill the space with light. And in one hand, the skeleton kind of holds a bow, and in another, raised high, it holds a crystal orb kind of gleaming with golden light. The statue kind of appears as if it's made from actual human skeletons, like much of the macabre construction here. Its bones kind of gleam like silver in the light of the crystal orb. And the skeleton's bones are kind of covered with these little magical runes.
Is it wearing the circlet
You do not see any sign of the circlet.
on the skeleton or anything?
Not on the skeleton. Nope.
I'm gonna look around, like, see if I can get a glance behind it, just take a quick look around the room, and I'm actually gonna step into the room too.
Okay. So
I'm gonna stealth
okay.
and be sneaky.
Okay. If you want, I mean, it's not a very big room. What are you?
I understand.
Are you hiding behind something, or?
Well, I want to go examine
I kind of imagine
those
the
runes to see if they were like a trap or something.
Okay.
If I can discern if that's going to cause something from my.
Okay,
shady-
so you want to gingerly enter the room. I'm tracking that.
Yes.
And you want to observe the room to see if there's traps. So go ahead and give me an
Yes.
investigation check, ultimately. And, of course, you step into the room, Bo, and start to kind of just examine and walk in circles around
I rolled a 4.
statue. You look around the statue itself. You look at the ground here. You don't seem to find any kind of pressure plates, trip wires, anything, strange contraptions or anything you're familiar with. But you managed to do full circle around the statue. I mean, it's, again, very macabre, Bo, but it stands there, hand outstretched and bow at its side in its grip.
Can I climb up the skeleton? Can I climb up the skeleton towards the that glowing orb? Because it's.
I was gonna grab it.
Well, if you're already making your way to grab it, then
Okay.
I'd probably let you grab it then, because I.
Yeah, I was gonna say
My
you're
detect-
about 3 feet tall. You do not detect any undead from the skeleton.
Okay, thank you. What about the whole room? Like any other little
No,
symbols
and this
or?
room is completely open. There's no obscuring pillars or anything like that. So yeah, you do not
Okay.
sense anything in this kind of open sanctuary.
I think
So
we
we
need
got a
to-
bow and an orb.
I think
How
we
far
can
up
grab
is?
it and take it
Yeah, how
back to the
far
main.
up is the orb?
Okay, so Aram, you're getting ready to kind of prepare to start climbing up on the skeleton. Like there's kind of a dais-like platform for the stone. And as you're getting ready to kind of put your leg up on that to start hauling your way up there, before you do, Archimedes just kind of steps forward and reaches out and grabs the orb. Which technically you're human size, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
So, about, 5'10", 6 feet, somewhere between there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the skeletal statue is roughly 6 feet tall, so you walk up and just pluck the orb from the statue's hand without issue.
I think let's go back to the main room where the eye was, and see if this this door or whatever that Ari mentioned, see if it reacts in any way to this orb.
Good idea. Or good theory.
I have
Is there
a
any
question.
other doors in this room?
Can is that, you said the statue is holding like a weapon, a bow?
It is
what
gripped
you
in its
said?
hand, yes.
Does it look like it's like physically part of the statue, or can I make an investigation check on it or something to see if I can take it? Basically, is what I'm asking you.
Yeah, give me an investigation check. Let's see. I mean, if you're just looking, you're just trying to see like how secure
I'm
it is.
3 feet tall. I can't see too. You know what I mean? But
No, I mean, but
like,
I'd say that's maybe a foot above you at most because
Oh
it's
my
in his
God,
in his
Aaron.
hand and at his side. What'd you roll?
a 10.
Okay, no,
Got
with a
a 10.
10, it looks like it is solidly in the grip of the skeletal hand of the statue.
Archie, can you grab that for me? The bow from the skeleton.
I can try.
Please, sir. Otherwise, I'm just gonna try and climb this thing and grab it. But you just easily grab this orb.
The orb was but
Great weapon.
should I, Aaron?
Do what?
How am I gonna grab this bow if he's grasping it?
I don't know. See if you can get it out of there, man.
Yeah, is
Can I
it
reach
loose?
the bow from where I'm standing? Like the
Am
bottom
I
of
supposed
it?
to say yes? I've grabbed the bow now and it's Linus and hand it over to him, or should I be rolling something?
Well, I need you to once you RP that out, you need to turn to me and say,
That's why I said
I walk to the statue and try to pull it
Can I
out of its
try to-
hand.
That's
Can I try
okay,
to jump
so
up and rip the bow out of the skeleton's hand?
If you do you say that to Aram and Archimedes?
Let Aron down your shoulders, and then he can
I
reach
see
it.
Arm and Archimedes talking about the bow, and I just jump and try to rip it off.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know that per the jump calculator is not necessary. I know you can even at because you're about the same height as you're both a halfling, yeah.
He's
So
taller than me.
Yeah,
He's
I'm
taller
1
than
inch
me.
taller.
an inch taller. I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure.
I would suggest that Bo take his axe and chop the hand off.
I just jump up and grab the bow.
Jumps up and grab it. So, I mean, it is kind of gripped on there, and again, it is kind of held the way you would hold a bow at its side, so you kind of have to grab it, like, at the hand if you're trying to grab the lowest point. And as you're trying to rip this bow out of the hand of this skeletal statue, I need you to give me a Constitution saving throw.
Oh
Oh
god.
no. Sorry.
Oh fuck me. Wait, I reroll on once. That's an 11.
11's not bad.
No, but he's halfling, so he gets to re-roll his ones.
Oh, nice.
Lucky hobbits.
That's an 11.
An 11. Unfortunately, that is a fail. You do take 7 points of necrotic damage.
Holy shit.
Shit. I don't know if I want to touch that thing.
I will say, out of kindness, you do manage to wrench the bony fingers free as they kind of outstretch and release from the weight of you pulling down on the bow. Seems to be a rather nice ornamental bow. It's a short bow.
Pretty, does it, it's pretty ornamental, so it looks like it could be expensive, or?
ornamental in its construct, meaning it's more for just looking pretty than for actual combat.
What's the necrotic?
It's comparable to buying a sword from a gimmick shop at the mall, you know?
Yeah, what's the necrotic damage look like when I take it?
You feel just this sudden pulse of this energy kind of being drained from you, and everybody around you sees this kind of putrid green and black energy almost explode as flesh makes contact with bone.
Shit.
How good an eagle wouldn't detect that? Like, good an eagle wouldn't have detected like some trap on that bow.
Nope,
Nope.
that's detect magic. That's a different spell.
I'm gonna give the bow to Aaron, and then I'm gonna turn to Archimedes and, hey man, you think you could give me a little healing there? That kind of hurt a bit.
Well, I would if I had spell slots.
So,
I turn to Arthur. Please, Mike.
Oh yeah.
I think he just has like lay on hands or something.
he's got a cure wounds.
He has cure wounds, but where's his spell slots?
I don't know. I don't see him.
You have to log in.
No, because I can see it on Archimedes' character.
Oh,
So maybe he's got to set it to public. Maybe that's
He's
it.
got 2 more lay on hands pool.
Okay. So
I see that. That's the only thing I see. But I don't know how many spell slots he has.
I'll pull my healing potion out of my cloth and I'll shake it and just be like, I got a potion. If nobody has a spell slot.
I have a potion too.
Save your potion. I'll use one of my lay on hands. And he kind of steps forward, and you watch as his kind of semi chainmailed glove kind of reaches out and touches your chainmailed shoulder, and there is a pulse, this vibrant kind of yellowish and white light that kind of just pulses from his hand into your shoulder, and you start to feel some of your scrapes and bruises begin to fill in, heal shut, and lose their discoloration. And you are healed 5 hit points.
Oh, that feels much better.
Magic is good for something.
Let's see, and he can do that one more time.
That's amazing. Arthur, I've never seen anything like that.
It's something my family's been able to do for a long time, something we carry with us. But shall we press forward?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go to the main chamber where the eye was.
After you, Professor.
Alright. I start walking there.
Beautiful. So you guys start leaving this chamber. Oh my god, what the hell was that? Oh, I opened up Roll20 and it triggered the sound effect for every dice roll you guys have made at once. That was very painful to the ears. So you guys start to enter back into this chamber and start to head over to the massive stone door that seems to have this sort of, how do I put it? One second here. Where are my notes?
I'm refreshing good and evil, just for the record.
Thank you. Hasn't even been 10 minutes yet.
Never know these days.
Yeah. 1 second. Sorry, guys. Going through my notes.
I'm sorry, Did you hand me the bow? Is that what I heard, Borge?
Yeah, I did.
Alright.
Hopefully
Let's
you
see
got it
here.
right, because I don't.
Alright.
I'll put it in my inventory here. What do I call this bow? Ornamental bow? Ornamental short bow?
It's a short bow. It's just a short bow. It's just very decorative. You can put a sub note on it, decorative, if you want. But you guys eventually walk up to the door. Your hooded lamp now kind of focused and illuminated on these grand doors before you, and carved upon them kind of sprawls this mighty scene of a conquest. You can see an army of the living dead, ghouls led by what appear to be vampire generals, charge up a mountainside towards a somber citadel carved out of the rock. Before the gates of the citadel stands a smaller army, this one made of walking skeletons, some armored, some not, led by a skeleton in a kind of flowing robe. And the leader of the vampires and the robed skeleton both have their hands lifted into the air as if conjuring a spell of some sort, and two circular cavities about the size of a human's fist rest in between their outstretched hands.
Are any of them wearing a circlet?
No, because this is kind of in this, depiction of the door.
Oh, I don't know, guys. None of these guys have circlets on. This might be the wrong way.
It's probably up on the other side of the door, or further down past this door.
There is another door in this chamber that you guys are back in, if you recall, that heads to the south.
Now,
I walk over
question.
to that door.
Boris, wait.
Does the door have a circlet on it?
the door there. Hold on. The door to the south. It's more of a doorway or an opening to a hall, I believe. But let's see.
It was open though, correct?
Yes.
The one to the north was blocked.
Correct.
I mean, it was closed.
It was
But we found the
closed.
secret chamber.
The false door that leads into the same chamber where that would lead.
Yes, Roger. On that, I have questions about the door that I'm staring at. You said there's like skeleton figures on there, and they're holding something up.
There's a lead skeletal figure in front of the skeleton
Yeah.
armor, his hands outstretched up in the air, and they're kind of in the place of what should be some kind of, spell effect of some sort. Seems to be some sort of concave recess about the size of a human fist.
Is it about the size of the orb that we grabbed?
Who has the orb? Archimedes has the orb?
Archimedes.
Yes, I have it.
Okay. So I'm assuming Aram says it kind of out loud, and I'm assuming Archimedes, you kind of pull it out and kind of look at it. And again, there are two recesses, one between the skeletal hands and one between the vampire hands. But as you're kind of comparing back and forth, the golden orb looks about the right size for the recess on the skeletal army side.
Okay, and that's the one that I've got.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we need to find another
let's,
orb then? Is that what it's looking like? We need another orb, guys. Or
I'm
another
gonna stick
key.
this one in here for now.
Okay.
Not
To the
since I didn't see a
skeletal-
circlet on the other door. I'm gonna walk back to the where they're putting the orb in.
Okay. So you kind of reach up onto the door as high as you can, Archimedes, just barely being able to kind of fit the orb in the recess above the skeletal hands. And with almost kind of like a magnetic effect, you feel it kind of leave your grasp and seep into the recess of the door and lightly illuminates, but nothing happens.
Makes a shunk sound. Okay, sweet. So I think we need to find another room
Well, it's
down
probably
here
the
that
opposite. of
may or
this
may
one.
not have vampires in it.
Yeah, so we need to be very careful because vampires. I've never met one, and I never want to. So
True.
let's be careful, please, for all our sakes.
Yeah, no more running like we did down the stairs.
Please, we have to be careful.
Wait, sorry, what happened when he put the orb in?
It went shunk.
Yeah, it shoot into the recess in the door, kind of lightly illuminated, and then just remained in place. Nothing seemed to happen.
So, we should probably go check that other hallway for another orb then?
Yep.
We need to be careful.
Yes. So, there's only one open doorway that we haven't gone through, correct?
Yes, the one, if you look at the Roll20 map, that kind of southern entryway that you just walked over to and kind of glimpsed into the chamber adjacent to this one.
And I'm assuming it's dark in there too.
Yes, it's pretty much dark everywhere in this place.
This is up my lantern.
Except for Archimedes' lantern.
Yeah,
Correct.
I'll like walk, but I want to walk behind or like right next to Archimedes because I'm just assuming he's leading since he's the lantern.
For sure. Okay. So, Archimedes and Bo and Aaron and Greg.
Orange.
Aaron.
I look at the spelling and it makes me think of Aram.
I know, but it's Aaron.
Isn't there an M on there? No.
No, it's an N. N. It's like
Aaron.
Arrin.
Okay,
And
I'll
it's
try.
Nancy.
Aaron.
You'll get it.
But yeah, and Arthur, kind of following up front, I would think, side by side with the professor. Do you have your doctorate? I'm, just curious, Archimedes.
Do I have a doctorate?
Are you a professor? I guess I keep wanting to call him Professor Archimedes.
You keep calling me a professor, but I would assume so. That
Indiana Jones was a doctor.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna call you Professor because I just want to call you Professor.
That's totally fine.
Okay.
Professor
Professor Archimedes. That sounds like a badass. I don't know. So the professor and Arthur kind of walk forward into the chamber, heading south. The rest of you kind of following in suit. And you kind of enter this oddly shaped hall. And this is setting the wrong tone. I apologize. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Okay.
This
oh my God! There's vampires. We're gonna die.
The walls are crushing in on us. Shut off all the trash compactors. Anyway, this oddly shaped hall contains a humble stone altar as you guys kind of step inward, and it's illuminated by your hooded lamps light. It's kind of lined up against the back wall of this chamber, and this altar is kind of heralded by a stone of pillars adorned with humanoid bones artistically arranged in spiraling patterns. Upon the altar itself gleams a tarnished gold circlet bearing a cracked peridot. Beside the circlet sits a sphere of black crystal glowing with internal light. And actually, I can send a picture of that.
Neat.
A moment.
Is there any sun faces on the wall?
There do not appear to be specifically sun iconography reflecting on the wall.
I immediately reach out and hold Lorge back as best I can and be like, I see there's a circlet, but we're not gonna go grab it right away, okay?
It's right there now.
No.
Alright, I trust you, mate.
We have to be careful.
We fools rush in.
Exactly.
Do I detect any undead or good and evil or anything?
Currently, you do not detect any sort of undead. You do still currently detect celestial-like energy from Arthur. But that's about it.
Does Arthur have pretty good investigation?
know.
Maybe we should send him in there to check it out.
I mean, you guys are in the chamber to be seeing this in the Oh, hold on. Let me unfog the map. I apologize.
No, let me. I guess.
How do I do this again?
Can I investigate the area for traps and stuff immediately around, like, the altar and stuff, and the altar itself?
Yeah.
Stealthily.
Let's see. I'm just trying to reveal the map.
Yep, I appreciate it.
So you guys are probably about right here, and you guys are looking at the stuff illuminated by there, and you're trying to look around the pedestal, around the dais, all that kind of stuff, trying to investigate for any sort of traps.
Yes, sir.
All right, give me an investigation check.
Thank God. 19.
All right.
How shiny is the circlet? Like, am I really,
I mean,
tantalized
in this light, it's super shiny. I mean, it's.
I'm like drooling at the mouth. I want to grab
But
this isn't
the circlet we're looking for, man. This isn't the one we want.
And as you say that, funnily enough, you recall huddling again around a dimly lit, candlelit table in the Tidewater Tavern in Lunsk a week ago, and you see the well-dressed old man with a well-trimmed white beard and a greedy glint in his eye kind of spoke to you in a hushed tone. As you all know, he was called the Nightseer Sage. "It's truly an item of tremendous importance," the mage said, or sage said. "It's truly it's really just of historical importance. I mean that is, and to me personally, it is, a circlet, gold, likely tarnished, and rumor has it, with a cracked peridot gemstone set into it from when it was briefly used as a lich's phylactery. It's from a civilization that predates our own. I'm desperately fascinated in ancient civilizations, as I know you are," as he points over to the professor. And, I don't know, maybe all part of getting old, I suppose. And the thing sitting on that altar before you is unmistakably the circlet of which the sage spoke, exactly as he described, golden, tarnished, and set with a cracked peridot.
But we also found the orb.
I'm sorry, Archimedes?
We also found the second orb, right?
There is kind of standing, resting on like a little skeletal hand post, held up in similar fashion in the previous chamber. Although, unlike the previous orb, this one's kind of dark, with this kind of illumination seeping from inside of it out.
Anyone opposed to me grabbing it?
No, I think we should put that in first before we take the circlet, because that seems too good to be true. The thing we want is right there. It's probably trapped, so maybe we should put the orbs in first to deactivate anything sketchy. Just a thought.
Maybe. That's a good point.
So I agree with getting the orb. Yeah.
Or maybe it's just this easy, and
I grabbed the circlet and the orb.
I can just chuck a throwing potion at it and see what happens.
Did you get my roll,
and the orb.
DM?
Okay.
DM, did you get my roll for traps that I've been investigating? Okay.
Yes. So with the 19, okay. So as you're investigating the where it rests, what it's sitting on, the dais, the altar itself, there are no seemingly separated platelets. There's no seemingly any sort of pressure plates or any sort of pull strings, anything like that.
Glyphs similar to the one at the skeleton earlier.
on the actual dais and on the actual discs and anything like that. You do not see any runes on that.
Well, I
I'm
think it's
gonna
safe.
grab the circlet and the orb.
Suggestion. I mean, it could be a proximity thing. What if we just like tied a rope around it and then ran to the edge of the room and then pulled the rope so it pulled the circulet off?
Well, there's
but
no traps here that I'm seeing, so I mean, it's
I just
probably
grab
safe.
It could be good. All right, he grabbed it.
One hand on the orb, one hand on the circlet.
Walks up and grabs the orb and circlet.
Oh shit.
Let's see. Yeah. In the far, far distance, you hear the sound of as
Doors closing.
what sounds like somewhere further back in the earlier segments of the vestibule, the doors seem to be closing.
What happens if we put the circulet back?
I mean, that's all you see. If you look back, I mean, there's still an opening to the previous chamber that you entered from.
Yeah.
God damn
Let's
it,
go
we're
back to the
trapped now.
previous chamber and stick this in the slot.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll turn around and I'll hand Archimedes both the circlet and the orb.
Okay, sweet.
Actually, I'll take the circlet back. I changed my mind. I want it.
Okay. Are you putting the circlet on?
No, I'm really thinking about it, but part of me is like, maybe I'll take necrotic damage again.
I mean, so far you've managed to touch it and you're fine. So.
True. All right, I'll put it on then.
All right. It
So
kind
do I
of
look-
definitely is a little kind of little cocked, kind of hanging on your slightly large ears on your kind of smaller head as a halfling. Does not quite fit you very well, but it does kind of rest gently, kind of angular on your head. And the orb itself, as you kind of collect it from Bo, Professor, you can see it's kind of deep purple glow emanating from within this black stone orb. And you all start to make your way back towards those grand doors. And
As I enter the chamber, I look to the left. Is the door open?
no.
Yeah, closed. Yeah, we're stuck in here, guys.
Yeah. But we're
Professor,
making progress.
I'd like everybody to make a history check as you've kind of had more time to think about like this mural, the nature of what it is. And I'm going to say everybody, for the most part, does it at disadvantage except for the professor because of his archaeology background.
I'm proficient, bitches.
And so I'll just go around the metaphorical table here. Aaron,
Rolled.
what
I
did
shit you not.
With a
I rolled-
disadvantage, I got a 2.
2? Greg, what did you get?
15.
15. Professor?
17.
17, 15, 17. And Bo?
I rolled an 8, but I just want to say I've rolled 3 nat 1s in a row.
Dear God.
Yeah.
That
Oh
is
my
horrible.
God.
Yeah, roll really shitty too.
Obviously, they all got re-rolled, but still, all the re-rolls were shitty too.
So one of you got a 17. Who got the 17?
Me.
Okay.
Professor.
Okay.
Dr. Dustiger.
As you're kind of looking at this mural, Professor, I mean, you kind of start recalling some of the previous digs you've gone on, kind of more so in the northern territories, far above Soma, safely within the territories that are at the furthest outreach of the Astoyan Empire. And as you've kind of made these different archaeological digs and explored some of the vast history that is, unfortunately a great deal of it has been lost since the fall of the ancient empire that existed here long before the Darkfall. You look at this mural, and it's very clearly. Well, what's strange to you is that it's much more very clearly recently made, although still easily centuries old. It doesn't seem to be as old as this place itself.
Huh.
And you believe that the vampiric forces depicted on this door very much resemble those that are currently in power of the Estoian Empire.
Oh, wow.
And as you are kind of taking in this thought as it comes to you, and you recall this on your previous digs, you guys all approach, and presumably, Professor, you place the other sphere in the other recess in the other side of the door.
So what's gonna happen when you do this, Professor?
Don't worry.
Is this gonna get us out of here, or?
It's gonna get us deeper.
Well, we got the circlet. Let's just get the fuck out of here.
Right, but we
The
can't.
door's closed.
Well, fuck.
I think we have to go this way. It's like Skyrim.
Alright. Like what?
We gotta solve this puzzle.
What? Like what?
Like a Skyrim dungeon. The door
What's
closes
a,
behind you.
what's a
and you gotta-
Skyrim? What's a Skyrim dungeon?
Oh, what?
Never heard of that.
Nothing.
Dude, I don't know about you, man. Alright. I guess just be careful, guys. This is scary for me. I don't want nothing to do with vampires, so we need to get out of here.
Yeah, well, we'll figure something out, but I think the
Alright, I'm
clues
leaving it up to you,
point
Professor. You know everything here.
the clues point to going this way.
Okay.
Alright. And as you're kind of saying that, and you reach up and insert the sphere into the recess on the door, preparing to see what happens, you watch as it back into place once again. And you watch as it becomes more, almost kind of dully lit by that same kind of purplish glow emanating, kind of swimming through its outer shell, just barely poking out every so often. And as they kind of pulse together in unison, the stone doors begin to grind open, sliding kind of laterally into the walls. And beyond the threshold stands a tall, thin figure draped in a white robe. Flanking the figure, which, by the way, at this moment, your detect good and evil, it is blinding you right now. It is so overwhelmingly powerful, and you are sensing incredibly powerful undead energy emanating from this being.
Lord.
And flanking the figure stand roughly two skeletons, but they seem to be almost... It's hard. They almost resemble the skeletal statue you saw before in terms of kind of silver-lined bones filled with runes and filigree. But they each have 4 arms and massive scimitars on back and their side, and they tower at probably 7.5, almost 8 feet tall.
Oh shit.
Oh my god.
Oh shit.
And this figure raises its head, and you watch as it raises its bony hands, small bits of flesh kind of dangling from its remaining skeletal form, and removes this hood back. And as this gaunt, kind of, decrepit face and hands kind of are revealed as it pulls this hood back, you see revealing kind of upon this kind of half-fleshed face a grinning skull with a kind of gray, weathered flesh. The empty eye sockets flare with pinpricks of golden light as the withered being opens its mouth, and a resonance, kind of churlish male voice kind of emerges.
Shit.
Tell me, how ought a king of the dead react to grave robbers? Bone masons, restrain them! And with a flick of his wrist, the smaller doors to this chamber slam shuts. These figures immediately kind of bum rush the hell out of you. Some of you try to, strike out with your weapons as you would. Some of you try to ready spells and find yourself suddenly silented, unable to speak. And as these massive creatures come up to you, I mean, the two halflings, both kind of running in different directions, preparing their onslaughts, are simply scooped up by these massive beings with 4 arms. Obviously fighting for dear life, trying to hold these enemies off. And as you eventually are just kind of being held, some of you by arms, some of you completely in like full-on bear hug, some of you held by spell in place, you just hear this figure begin to laugh, and it fills this chamber. And a smile kind of spreads across this half-rotted face. Give me an insight check. Everybody give me an insight check.
Dear God. Hey.
Bo, what'd you get?
11.
Professor?
22.
22. Greg?
12.
12. And Aram?
It's Orin.
Damn it.
16.
16. So anybody that got a 15 or higher, we'll just go with that. As much as this guy is incredibly intimidating, whoever rolled 15 or higher kind of gets a glint at, like, very clearly this being has not seen any sort of other living beings for a very long time. He almost seems kind of amused in this moment simply because, well, it's been a very, very long time since he's seen any other living beings here. And the Lich's smile kind of never falters at this point. As he looks to all of you, he seems almost entertained by the struggle, by you guys trying to fight off, and as you're kind of dangling there by the hands of the creatures, as though, a number of you who are able, trying to cast spells. Arthur kind of trying to jump forward, and he seems to be frozen in place with his lance, or pike, outstriked like 5-10 feet away from this creature. As it tries to step forward. And actually, I can send a picture. I apologize.
Pictures.
So hopefully I can aid. I don't know if these are good things or bad things.
Oh, it's good. Yeah, it's cool.
Hopefully I can do it justice.
It kind of gives me an idea of what
I like to imagine that the halflings are just being like held by the back of their coats, and we're just
No, exactly. Like kind of like pups being held by the scruff of the neck kind of vibes.
Let me go, you bastard.
He kind of chuckles, but you definitely catch his attention for a moment. Like, ooh, the audacity! Like he's drinking it in, and then as he kind of looks at you specifically at first, he speaks. For all your bravado, little mortals, I'm afraid that your time on this earth has come to an end. It pains me to send brave explorers to their doom in my little afterlife, but such is the way of the world. To think that once you would have gone to Aurelia's side in the heavens, and yet my unseen son will draw your souls to its side instead. And as he kind of starts to chuckle to himself in this kind of, as if almost kind of perverting the natural order of life and death, is just kind of a casual diversion for him. It truly is a rarity to come face to face with the living. I think To commemorate the specialness of your collective demise, I'll feed your souls to my phylactery personally. I have so many souls in stasis, ready to be fed on. Yet, yes, you deserve a special end. Do you have any last squawking words, my little mice? As he kind of almost peers down, looking Arthur directly in the eyes, laughingly stepping past and walking towards the central point of the group.
Well,
Oh, wait.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, wait. We were sent down here by someone. We can give you them.
I don't need any more living entities coming into my vestibule.
Alright, well, first of all, we're not mice. And second of all, we're not grave robbers. We just came for this little circlet thing. You clearly didn't need it. I mean, look at it. It's all tarnished and broken. I mean, you should just let us leave and we'll go about our day. We won't talk. We could send more souls down here or something for you, but I mean...
The little guy's got a point.
Charming.
I mean, I certainly don't want to fight you, that's all I'm saying.
Oh, there is no worry of that, I assure you. And, charming, truly, I'm touched. Well, I suppose, we have nothing more to say to each other then. Farewell. And he looks directly at you, Bo, little mice. And you watch as he raises a singular hand in very much, I kind of imagine Final Fantasy VIII as Shiva is kind of like charging her ice spell above her. Very much a kind of raising of the hand, and as his hand raises, you watch as this swirling of yellow and white light coalesces into a single ball within the palm of his hand as he hurls it forward. Blinding light suddenly envelops all of you, searing your skin. You feel your body unraveling at the seams as your flesh burns, bubbles, and then peels away in ragged strips. The pain is beyond words, and the heat so intense it boils your insides. The light grows hotter and brighter still, until suddenly, just as the agony reaches its apex, suddenly darkness.
Fuck.
Second. Nothing remains but blackness all around. There is no heat. There is no cold. Just the gentle sensation of nothingness. Time passes. You cannot fathom how long. Whether seconds or centuries. There's a vague notion of falling. You drift in blackness, painlessness, and silence for a time, without measure. Then, something pierces the darkness. Singular pinpoint of light. It emerges from your chest, or what would be your chest if you had a physical form. A tiny mote of light, no larger than a marble. It's warm, comfortingly so. Where before there was a sensation of total numbness, that light has awakened a tingling in your fingertips, then your hands, your arms, through your chest and down to your legs. You exist. Suddenly you plummet through darkness. You exist. You hear the wind rushing past, and the tiny golden mote kind of slowly drift back into your chest. And then just before you strike the invisible ground beneath you, you feel hands cradling your fall, and a gentle sacred voice in your ear. Death is not the end. Your eyes suddenly flutter open, and you are covered in mud. Lying on your back in some dirty cavern, you ache, your head swims, but you're alive. And as you look around, you start to see a number of other figures kind of moving in the darkness. And for those of you that do have dark vision, you can see what appears to be your fellow adventurers kind of all scattered about in the muck around you. And as you kind of stand yourself upright, kind of clambering, the hollow sounds of clacking bows kind of pervade the room as you're coming to. Each breath and motion kind of producing a clattering beneath you. Gathering your bearings, you find the room kind of lit by an above very pale light, which starts to come into focus, which doesn't quite reach out to the stone walls. You find you and your companions kind of resting atop a towering mound of these bones, rising some 30 feet from the floor of the cavern. Everything seems to be coated in a kind of slimy layer of mud, or at least you hope that that's what it is. The chamber smells of very, very strongly of mold and wet earth. And somewhere distant kind of comes a dull thuds and rasps of something scraping the ground. The bone pile kind of provides no real comfort. How could it? And each movement kind of threatens a sudden landslide of macabre material. And there to the north, a doorway stands kind of below you to the north.
So, this is just a curiosity question. If we died and were resurrected, would that be like a long rest? Like, would I have all my health back, or
I wouldn't go so far as to say that you've had any sort of official resurrection.
Right.
So as of right now, no. Especially there's something that you can't quite sense here. That seems to be... It doesn't seem like a great place for healing. Let's just say that. It's very unclean, very filthy. The smell of death all around.
Still have the circlet?
Roll a flat d20 for me.
He had it on his head.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I know. But it also didn't fit very well, and you guys were like picked up.
Nat 20, baby.
Nat 20. You know what? I'm going to say during the kind of rumbling and clambering, it kind of slipped down and kind of fell into place more like a necklace or some kind of neck brace than an actual crown on you.
Beautiful.
So you managed to hold on to it throughout the experience.
That's cool.
Yeah.
At least get a reward.
Yeah. I find it funny that that's where Aaron's head is at. It's, I gotta get my reward.
No. Actually, Aaron's curious. Nico's still there, or is he not there?
We're gonna say Nico. During your little experience, there was a tiny little second, just little spark of light that floated into something.
Yes.
Yes. So, we'll say that non-humanoids can have or experience whatever that rare phenomenon was that you guys know nothing about.
Gotcha.
Is everybody okay? I kind of shout.
You kind of hear it echoing, reverberating off the wall as you kind of start to come to. You look over. He's maybe 10, 15 feet to your right. And you can hear Greg say this to you, Aram, as you start to say hello.
But we can't see him, right?
You all can see each other.
Oh, we can? Oh, I thought you said it was dark.
I mean, it's very, very dark, and the little bit of kind of bioluminescence emanating from the ceiling there, it's just barely a light. Like, it doesn't even reach the walls. So the chamber is very, very darkly lit. So those that don't have dark vision might be struggling to see a bit further than, 20 feet in front of them.
Who doesn't have dark vision?
Us halflings, Tom.
I don't, but I've got my lantern. Don't I?
Can I like stand on the bones, or am I gonna like fall and send a bunch of bones scattering, or can I like stand up?
I mean, if you want to try to stand up, you are more than welcome to try to stand up.
Yeah.
As you kind of rise and take in your macabre surroundings, you do hear kind of the bones slightly clattering and tumbling as, you're kind of trying to situate yourself and balance on this big pile of bones. It's not the most stable of things. But as you do, the four of you see a small gnome begin to enter in from the northernmost chamber, approaching slowly into the room with kind of a crossbow drawn, kind of doing the slice and the pie thing, just checking every corner. And as he kind of comes in the room and then sees four living humanoid creatures standing up on a tile, this giant pile of bones, his appearance is haggard. He very much looks exhausted. Worn work clothes and a tattered leather apron kind of hangs like curtains upon his very, very gaunt form, with kind of craven fingers wrapped firmly around the stock of his crossbow. The gnome approaches slowly, kind of cautiously at first, taking care not to disturb any of the kind of strewn bones on the ground before matching eyes with your group, his eyes kind of wide. He suddenly goes, "Have you lost your minds? Get down from there before you wake them!" And the bones begin to shift beneath you.
Shit.
As everything starts to rumble underneath your feet, he quickly kind of puts his crossbow to his side and kind of gestures with one hand to come with me.
I follow.
So,
I follow my short kin.
As all of you guys are if you are following Aram and you guys are following suit, everybody here trying to run off this kind of now shaking pile of skeletal remains. Give me.
If that's okay, can I do a leap, a frog leap?
That's
all right.
That's your racial ability, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just the one time a day, or is it the?
I think it's
just a movement thing he has.
No, because the Haragon have a similar thing, and it's a once or twice a day thing where they can.
I think Grung can just do a jump, like a 15-foot long jump, without needing to get a running start.
Then I would say you do not need to make the dexterity saving throw, and you immediately leap off to the ground, avoiding the kind of strewn of bones on the ground. But everybody else, go ahead and give me a dexterity saving throw on that.
17.
17?
13.
13?
17.
17.
Oh, let me give you one for...
So...
Oh, I can't give you... Can I roll?
Anybody that rolled 14 or higher, suddenly as you guys are running down this hill, you suddenly feel this grip of a skeletal hand grabbing onto your ankle as you go flat down, falling prone, sliding across the broken and shattered bones, taking roughly 3 points of slashing damage. But you do slide to the base of the skeletal pile. What would you like to do?
Everyone's taking 3 points?
Only those that rolled lower than a 14, so 13 or lower.
Just me.
Okay. And as you all start to make your way towards the northern exit here. You kind of falling a bit behind because you were kind of pulled down and then begin to stand up and try to follow after the rest of your comrades here. You look back and you can see what appears to be a number of skeletons that are now setting off your... Well, actually, no, you were unconscious and dead for an undiscernible amount of time, so it wasn't on. But if you turned it on instinctually as you were running, you definitely sensed the undead as you were running, as they began to take form. So, but you guys start to make it towards the northern chamber, following this small little gnomish figure, surprisingly nimble for a gnome, very, very quick. Let's see here.
Where are you leading us?
Trying to take you back to the dredges. Just stick with me. We'll get you out of here alive. Name's Yejin.
Alright.
Pleasure. This way. And he follows suit, trying to make sure you get as much distance as you can away from those now very manifested and fully formed skeletons that seem to be forming themselves out of that pile. As you guys kind of slide into the adjacent chamber, making your way down this serpentine hall, you can again, you guys are at full run trying to just get away from these things, clearly following this sense of urgency that Yejin has set. You can see kind of gouge marks mar the floor and walls of this chamber as you start to enter it, accompanied by smears of blood leading to the bone pile that is at your backs. Two tunnels kind of lead northwest and northeast as you enter here, though the latter quickly ends in a cave-in. And there, kind of resting against the far wall of this antechamber, lies the skeletal remains of a long dead minotaur. Massive great axe at its side, and while it looks like it hasn't really been disturbed or moved in some time, as you guys come rushing in, it immediately kind of jots its head over and begins to very cumbersomely lift its arms and legs up as it tries to set itself upright, and just tries to swing at one of the nearby enemies in passing while it's trying to stabilize itself. And so there's 6 of you right now, because Arthur is here and technically Yejin is here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, Arthur 5, Yejin 6. 1, 2, 3. Professor, unfortunately, you do get hit. You take 4 points of slashing damage as it clips you with its great axe as you guys are running by. But you guys start to break through and immediately start to head towards... no, my thing crashed. Head towards the adjacent chamber a moment later. The skeletons seem to be kind of clattering or losing ground. You're not sure if they've turned back, but they're no longer in sight, but the Minotaur is still beginning to raise up and stand itself upright. You guys turn into this chamber before you, and Yejin comes to kind of a sliding stop as you guys kind of also rush to come to a stop too. You can see as you enter into this chamber, on the northwestern side, a trench kind of separates this room from the adjacent side of the chamber. And as you all kind of come to that sliding stop, you're lucky that you're able to not kind of fall in as you look down and get a very clear view of this kind of steel glinting at the bottom of this incredibly littered trench filled with bones. Scaffolds made of decaying wood kind of line the walls near the pit, and on the farthest wall of the chamber you can kind of see what appears to be a whole bunch of just different carved words. They're difficult to read from this distance, especially since it's relatively dark. Yejin kind of looks over and says, out of the way, pushes you guys just, a little bit so he can run over, not necessarily to be aggressive, but is clearly trying to get to something with a sense of urgency. You see kind of a makeshift bit of wood, like a large plank that had been laid down over the kind of lined, kind of semi-rotted wood that's flushed against both sides of the trenches here, and shifts it over and kind of looks like he's struggling a little bit, just based off of his size. Normally, looks like he might have more time to do this normally, but you see him kind of pin it up against the foreleg and grab it to kind of off balance the weight, and you watch as he lifts over this kind of massive plank of wood, shifting it, allowing for a potential bridge for passing here.
How far is the Minotaur at this point?
The Minotaur is probably, again, there's a bit of a hall here. It's back in the previous chamber. If you want to go back down the kind of serpentine hall to see how close it's gotten to, you're unsure. It was getting up to follow you, and
I just want to stand like a good 10 feet away from the group towards where the skeletons were coming from, just to with my axe out, just to be ready if anything comes out while they're messing with the bridge.
Okay. Easily done. You kind of pull out your axe, have it in your hands at the ready as you're kind of looking back towards the hall, trying to keep an eye on your back while Yezhin seems to be creating a makeshift bridge for all of you guys. But once he gets it settled and there's kind of that plop of dust as it squashes down on the hard soil, he starts to cross with no difficulty across this little plank here to get across this trench.
I follow him.
Okay. Aaron, you follow suit, and go ahead and give me this is just going to be a acrobatics check.
Oh, sweet. 16?
16. Very nice. Easily, you make it across the plank following suit. Who's next?
I'll go.
Oh.
Okay. Professor, give me a dexterity acrobatics check.
All right. Nat 20.
Hell yeah. Fucking managed to make it in 3 steps as you're running across the plank. Very nice. Very awesome. It's like running on water. You make it to the other side. Look back. At this point in time, Bo, you do start to see the kind of hulking figure of the Minotaur kind of sluggishly, almost axe kind of dragging in its wake as it's coming down the hall, beginning to come into sight. And I believe Greg and Bo, you two are the only ones still on the other side of the trench.
The trench, is it under 25 feet distance?
It's 20 foot wide, 20 foot deep.
I'll just jump over it. I can jump 25 feet.
Beautiful. So you jump 25 feet over the hole.
I'll run over and try to whack the bridge down when I get across.
Okay. Let's see here. So you start to run back. I'd say, the Minotaur is just kind of coming in your direction and beginning to kind of raise an axe upright, sluggishly, and swing it down. Long since misses you. The moment it even started lifting it, you started turning back around and start making it across the board. Give me a dexterity check.
Acrobatics, right?
Acrobatics, yes.
That's a 19.
19, yeah. Straight across the board.
We get Arthur across too.
Oh yeah, thank you for reminding me.
I would have waited for Arthur to go on, so I'd have just imagined that he'd went across at this point.
Arthur then actually ends up falling off with a natural 1. and ends up holding on by like one hand onto the plank, trying not to, one, tilt the plank, and two, fall into the pit filled with rusted blades beneath him.
Help him.
I'm gonna pick him up. I'm gonna try to grab his hand and pull him up.
All right, so you turn around.
I'm gonna hold like the table.
You leap forward with all hands kind of plopping down on the end, stabilizing it to keep it flattened, to kind of offset the weight. Immediately, Bo starts running down halfway through the plank, and I'm going to say, because you're a halfling, that's one of the few reasons why the two of you can be kind of in that same place in the middle of that board. And I'm going to let you know right now, it is beveled as fuck. But as you are there, you manage to kind of pull down and give him an assisted hand, so he's going to do an athletics check with advantage, which is good. And for his athletic, that's a +3 for him, so that's a dirty 20. So yeah, he manages to kind of swing his leg over as you kind of stabilize him there behind you. You realize the board is not doing too well, again, with this much weight in the center, especially now that, well, I'd say actually no, now that he's kind of laying on his side, that would have actually helped equally distribute his weight. But you know, probably, why? No, you're not that smart, unfortunately, Bo. I'm sorry. This board is super beveled. Beveled's a big word.
I'm running across now that Arthur's safe, and I'm gonna kick the fucking board out once Arthur's across.
Okay. You run across. Arthur manages to stand up, no problem, and starts making his way down to the end of the board. You go to kind of start to grab the board as Arthur makes his way across. Yezhin also actually goes to kind of grab the board as Arthur makes his way across and starts to actually start pulling the board back onto this side to ensure that they're unable to cross the trench, and then kind of lean it up against the kind of semi-rotted boards that line the two sides of the trenches. Beautiful. You guys managed to get to what appears to be a more safe place away from whatever those forces were. You guys are crazy.
Where are we, Yezhin?
Well, we call this place the Ditches. Welcome to the afterlife. Or somewhere in between.
What?
I don't know. Honestly, we're not quite sure what this place is. It's, well, let's get you back to camp and I'll try to explain. Maybe a Bradis will be a little bit better. He's a little bit better with words. Honestly, We'll talk to Bradis. And you can see he was kind of like almost thrown, like he was almost dizzy for a second. Like he seems incredibly malnourished. He seems confused, and give me an insight check for those that would like. 19. Insight.
Yeah.
What did you get for insight? I'm sorry.
I got an 8.
8. Okay. And Bo?
I just got a 13.
13. Oh no, I mean, it's not very difficult to kind of see that, you know, this place is not a very good place, and this guy looks like he's been here for some time. And as much as it is an incredibly valid question of, you know, what is this place, To him, it felt like it's a loaded question because he's been here so long and yet has so very little answers.
Yo,
At
you want?
least tell me that they have meat in this hellhole.
Can I offer him some rations? Javier.
You watch his eyes go wide as you pull out a bar of jerky, kind of a strip of jerky of your rations, and he grabs it from you and immediately starts trying to chow it down, and then like almost catches himself, like he realized like how he's kind of behaving. Thank you, I appreciate it. It's been so long since I had any decent food. Thank you. And he kind of leans up against the wall for a moment, just trying. You can tell he wants to like scarf it all down at once, but at the same time he's trying to ration and savor the moment. And he keeps having to try to stop himself or slow himself down. And as he kind of leans up against the wall, based on your passive perceptions, anybody with a 13 or higher, you can see on the wall he's kind of leaning up against. They're, filled with all that writing that you could see from the other side of the pit. A lot more clearly for those that can see in the dark, and if the professor has lit his torch at this point, you would see a number of kind of names strewn across the wall. You see Yola, Ralaman, Gim, Thefrona, Zelum, Rotel, and the list of names just kind of keeps going on and on and on and on and on and on in this space. And as you guys are kind of taking in the sight of like just how vast this list of names kind of is, Yejin kind of looks up from the ration that you've given him kind of over his shoulder. Yeah. Those are previous dredges down here in the ditches. Hopefully, with any luck, I won't have my name written on that damn wall. Anyway, he takes another bite off the ration, kind of stands up, places the other half kind of in his pocket, and as he stands upright, kind of pulls out a small bit of kind of rock, tries to start a small fire on his torch that he has. We want to head this way. We'll get you to camp. Try to get you guys some place to collect yourselves. And as you guys kind of make your way into the northernmost point of this chamber, it leads into yet another kind of tunnel that starts to veer to the east. And because we've kind of fully gone through it, I'll actually post kind of where you've been through so far on this version of the map. So you guys are now kind of approaching that northernmost corridor, starting to approach this kind of small doorway there on the right-hand side. This room adjacent to this dredger camp that you are approaching is a hewn stone door. Metal bars kind of rise from the floor to the ceiling, embedded through the stone, kind of rooting them in place. The construction of the room, the exactness of the bars themselves, and the presence of a metal door looks almost comically out of place here in this kind of ditches space where everything kind of seems ramshackled. Sorry, I thought you were going to say something.
So we started at D1, right? Is that my
correct
understanding?
Correct.
And D3 was the pit area.
Correct.
And then D4 is where we're at.
Correct. You guys are passing by those bars there in
Gotcha.
the D4 section of what is very clearly kind of a makeshift prison space. And eventually, as you guys kind of walk by these prison doors again, he's a gnome. He's walking with a relatively steady pace, but he seems to kind of be... You're not sure if he's a stoic individual or just doesn't have a lot of social practice currently. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. But as if you guys are continuing to follow his escort and walking with him, eventually you guys kind of approach these kind of ramshambled, like, shack of a wall pieces that have been kind of clambered together to make a sort of gate or barrier into this more cavern-like space. And as you arrive, a low conversation kind of comes to a stop as Yezhin kind of navigates you past this barricade, and the creaking of that kind of rotted wood alerts all those beyond to your presence as you all start to step into the space. And stepping inside, you find a small, secluded blip of civilization. 4 dirty, ragged people sit kind of huddled around a fire and turn to you as you enter the cavern. Dredgers, meet our newest members, Yurgen declares as he kind of steps forward, indicating you all with kind of a sweeping gesture. The rest of the dredgers kind of smile weakly and give you kind of weak, hello, hello, hello. You can see a half-elf with kind of a wrinkled complexion, silver whiskers, and a shaved head kind of stands to greet you. My name is Abradus. You've had the unfortunate luck to wind up stuck here with the rest of us. But you found good company here. Bed softer than stone, and fire warmer than the grave. I welcome you. You should come. Find places and beds near our fire, so long as, of course, you contribute to the cause. I don't see Limnor with us, Yezhin says, kind of from the side, a hint of panic in his voice. Is she... Our fine hunter rests in her bunk, Abradus replies calmly. You know how her need for exploration can take its toll, but not to worry. Our fine apothecary has seen her wounds, and she will be fine in a day or so. And the half-elf kind of turns to you all again and says, a dredger's lifespan is somewhat short in this hellish place. Please, feel free to join us and find what solace and company you can, as we can try our best to endure. And he kind of just gingerly sits down and kind of stares back into the flames as he kind of gestures to different spots around the fire. You can see Yezhin kind of starts to leave, heading off to clearly check on whoever Limnor is.
Can I follow him?
Follow Yezhin?
Yeah.
If you want to.
Yeah, I would like to.
Okay.
He's going to check on the... What was her name again?
You overheard the name Limnor.
Arin goes and sits down by the fire next to that elf.
Abradus?
Abradus, yeah.
Okay.
What is this place? Where are we?
Well...
What happened?
I mean, certainly you recall how you died. Something we all share here, we found. And what, to answer your first question, what we call the ditches. Some people call it the hells. But for now, this is our inescapable home. You know, those,
There a way back? Any way back?
some have sought true death as the escape. Certainly not a way I fancy. And, well, every one of us here knows about the ditch gate. It's a big circular thing with runic carvings all over it. Our newest member, before you lot, of course, is dying to see it, but don't try. We've lost too many people trying to reach it. The thing that guards it, a mess of bodies and muck, is too powerful for any of us in our current state.
There must be a way. And that
Seriously.
is the way back to the living realm is through this ditch gate you speak of?
Those are the only two ways I've seen and or heard of leaving this place.
How long have you been here?
Well, since I can honestly remember, it's
Shit.
years, I think. It's hard to keep track without the passage of day and night.
Do y'all not get hungry? Like, how does this work? You just...
Oh, we hunt through the tunnels. We find rats and different voles that we can potentially survive on. If
Nicodemus gets scared and scurries a little more into its pouch.
Unfortunately, it's very few and far between due to the foul undead that fill the tunnels here. It's slight competition for food source here. But I don't know, there's something strange about the creatures in this place.
How so?
Cruel magic. It's just something I sense. I find, some believe it to be our punishment for what happened to us when we were alive. Now, I'd like everybody to make a general intelligence check.
This will go
Right.
well. Oh, it's not negative,
even
thank
me?
God.
Even me, because I'm not.
No, you
there.
walked off, so you don't get to make one, I'm afraid.
Yep. Okay.
13.
13.
It's okay, I'm done.
12.
anyways.
Professor?
13.
Okay. So this is not a super high DC, because it's literally, do you know if you're alive or not? And right now, you feel alive. You don't feel like you're dead or a ghost or a zombie or something like that. Like, you feel like you did before you experienced the sensation of death, for sure. So I want to make that abundantly clear that your character does feel alive.
Okay.
But I would say now give me an insight check for those that are there.
Fuck.
Oh,
Bad roll.
man. I'm so missing Starlick's inside
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh my God.
What'd you guys get?
I got a 6.
A 9.
7.
Jesus.
Man, you feel alive, but am I dead? It's like, You're kind of in a loop right now, where I guess is where you're at mentally. And he kind of just seems to be, he just seems incredibly depressed and lost in that sensation of there is no hope, there is only survival. And to him, he seems like this is the hells, and he's being punished. He very clearly seems to have that for anybody who rolled 13 or higher. But he goes on to tell you about how pretty much mostly foul undead found here within the tunnels.
These are all tunnels?
Yeah, like through the tunnels that you just traveled through, and there are more. I'll even stress that I will send you one more map, because you guys have technically kind of stepped into the camp now, and you are mostly in the campfire.
So, are we in the D&D back rooms?
D&D back rooms? What?
Yeah, do you know what the back rooms are?
The bag rooms? No.
Oh.
What's the bag room?
Never mind then. The back rooms is like, do you know what SCP is at all?
Oh, yeah, like the horror stories online?
Yeah. So the back rooms is like, it's this like endless maze of like, it's just like I don't know, random rooms, but all the walls are painted yellow, and it's like carpeted, but it's just a maze of these random rooms, and like there's basically no escape because it's infinite.
Interesting. Okay. No, I mean, you're not walking down an infinite hallway right now, I promise.
Well, just like in my mind, what I'm picturing is we're in like this giant tunnel maze type, I don't know, purgatory.
Sure, that sounds fair. Good assumption for right now from what your character has seen all around them and from what you've heard so far. Because it kind of had that vibe. Because again, you guys floated in that kind of perpetual darkness, kind of disembodied for an indiscernible amount of time. So who's to say what your characters believe or feel or think just transpired, right? It's very much a powerful experience, I would think. But I mean, again, you guys kind of look around, and a stark contrast to the mud and bones of the previous chamber. This kind of small encampment does provide some level of comfort and civility. There's a small forge with tools lying upon a makeshift anvil that stands in one corner. You can see a crate with kind of gardening tools, some small carved out wall hollows, and a stretch of dug up stone and dirt. All kind of make up a sort of makeshift herb garden. The entrances here are kind of partially obscured by barricades, though they do not appear to be kind of the strongest of materials or build. The two kind of non-barricaded entryways in this chamber lead to a kind of small makeshift prison back in that kind of D4 area in the previous map, and the dredger bunks kind of over off in D5A from what you can see from the camp map, which is the direction where Yezhin and Bo started to head as Yezhin went towards the bunks to try to go check on Limnor. One second. Where's my info here? Sorry, guys. I would say for those that are kind of sitting around the fire, give me a perception check as you're kind of looking at Abradus as he's kind of just casually talking to you, staring into the flames.
10.
10. I mean, not super hard. You get, he seems to be middle-aged. You look at his hands. He seems to be wearing kind of smithing gloves. And you would kind of put two and two together that he's probably the kind of resident smith that works that anvil and tools off to the side in the distance. You look around, and coming into the campsite, you see another figure kind of sit down and kind of gather warmth by the fire. You see this female figure, dragonborn, of blue scale, kind of sit down. Her eyes kind of almost these orient sapphire kind of blend. And she kind of outstretches her blue taloned hands to the warmth of the fire. So, new dredges, I see. Welcome.
Hello.
The name's Carigna. What's yours?
I'm Arin.
Pleasure to meet you, Arin. And you? As she points to the bearded one.
Well, my name is Archimedes Dust Digger, but you can call me Deez.
I will not be doing that. But
You got a problem with me?
Archimedes, I can do that. Pleasure. And you, my amphibious friend.
Gregor, nice to meet you.
A wonderful pleasure to meet you. So, how did you find your way to the afterlife?
We
came
were
across
on an adventure
some crazy thing.
and ran into the king of the dead. And that was the last we remember.
Sounds like a journey, to say the least. Well, I look forward to having conversations later. Please come and see me if you are ever in need of any sort of arcane expertise. It is my specialty. And
What you mean, like arcane, like magic stuff? Is that what she was saying?
yeah, like just general arcane inquiry.
Actually, I wouldn't mind your assistance. I pull out that ornamental short bow and have her take a look at it. Is that still in my? Do I still have my inventory?
Yes,
Even after
everybody still has their belongings.
All right.
That kind of manifested with you.
Okay. I have her look at it. Is there anything special to this bow?
She takes the bow from your hands, and you watch as her eyes begin to illuminate in this, going from that sapphire to an almost ruby-like state as she scans the bow up and down. I mean, it's a beautiful make. It's clearly from an ancient era, but I sense no arcane element to it, and her eyes return back to the blue sapphire as she hands the bow back to you.
Thank you for your assistance.
Of course. Anytime. She gives you a wink, and then she starts to head off to a small little alcove off into the distance. Jumping over to the other side as we kind of follow her for just a moment as it pans over to the bunks off to the side. We see Yejin kind of, trudging into the bunks off in the distance. You kind of follow suit, passing by, a nearby table, some kind of semi-ramshackled crates that seem to be kind of, makeshift slapped together near the kind of makeshift garden. And as you approach, you start to get maybe 10, 15 feet within the chamber. And I will say, make an insight check for me, Bo, as you kind of start to approach and follow Yejin.
Good. 15.
15. I mean, Yezhin clearly seems to be worried and concerned for an ally, possible friend. And as he runs in, you can see what appears to be um, a female Laneshi. Kind of spends her time kind of laying back or leaning back in kind of one of the nearby bunks. And yeah, the Laneshi are, if I remember correctly, I think they're the water-faring. No, maybe. Let me look.
Like a genasi or?
No, the Laneshi usually live deep beneath the waves.
They're like the fish people.
Yeah, they're kind of fish-esque, or they're kind of like a more monstrous version of the sea elves.
Okay.
But you see her kind of pinned up, leaned up in this bunk, and he kind of comes up and, in a friendly fashion, kind of outstretches a hand and kind of grips her hand and starts talking. The small bit that you do kind of overhear or catch from where you're at the front of the chamber is...
Oh, I think I would have tried to go in with Yejin.
Okay. I would stress with that 15 insight, it does look like they're having a personal conversation. But if
Yeah, I don't give no fucks.
if you're stepping in, Yezhin kind of looks over his shoulder, kind of has a look of annoyance, and kind of pulls his hand back from her hand, and
oh well, I guess.
What did I tell you about going out there? No, I mean, if you walked in, you walked in. We're not going to change it.
I would have went in at the same time as him if like I could tell they were having some deep talk. I would have, I guess, waited a little bit before going in, but otherwise I would have just walked in at the same time because I want to talk to her.
Okay. Well, as I said, Yezhin kind of walks up and stresses, "You're a fool. How many times am I going to tell you not to go out there without me? I'm sorry. I was trying to find more food. The rats have been more scarce, you know that. We need to get out there as much as we can. I know, but you got to watch out for yourself." He kind of gently does like a light punch on the shoulder, and she kind of rubs it off to the side. "You get some rest. I'll take over the hunt for the time being. Oh, it's one of the new dredges here. What was your name again?"
Oh, I'm Bo. Nice to meet you there. I think I heard your name was Lemnar, and I reach my hand out to shake her hand.
She kind of weakly raises a hand outstretched. Limnor,
Is
yeah.
she pretty beat up? Like, how badly is she hurt from...
I mean, she's definitely got a number of bruises across her body, a number of scrapes and scratches across her upper chest. She's got some bandages kind of wrapped around the shoulder and her upper abdomen.
You're pretty banged up there. We actually brought a couple of healers with us. I don't know how skilled your apothecary is, but some of my friends can do pretty crazy stuff. They might be able to help heal your wounds a little faster.
That would be greatly appreciated. I need to get out back on the hunt as soon as possible. Anything your friend could do, I'd greatly appreciate it.
I poke my head out the tent. How far away is
I mean, probably about 35, 45-ish feet out from where you're at.
Archimedes!
Archimedes, you just hear Bo yelling from an adjacent chamber. Do you stand up and just say hello?
Yeah, I'm wondering where he's at. I'll look around.
I mean, you easily locate him after a second of kind of looking around. You can see his little halfling head kind of poking out from the doorway frame of what would appear to be the kind of makeshift bunks of this little commune here.
What's going on?
I'm just waving at him. Archimedes! I'm not
Come
saying
over.
it's like when your mom calls you from your room and you're like, what?
So you head over, and as you kind of step in, you see this room filled with makeshift bunks. And you can see Yezhin, Bo, and a female kind of blue-skinned, semi-elf-like creature with this kind of long, kind of ocean green hair, kind of pulled back into a ponytail, and semi-gaunted cheeks that almost seem to have light gill-like slits along the cheek.
Hello there.
Hello.
I've been summoned.
Yeah, she's real hurt. She could use a little bit of that healing wood you got.
It is true that I can cure wounds, but I am very tired.
Is there another bed in the infirmary that we're in?
There's not really an infirmary. It's just a whole bunch of bunks in here. So this is kind of like where everybody goes to get sleep when they need sleep.
I'll just point to one of the bunks.
Well,
Naughty
I could
night,
get a
mate.
nice long rest. I think I would be able to help out here.
Okay. I mean, granted, you all are pretty tired after this entire experience, but are you stressing your character is now just going to hop in the bunk and crash out? I'll help you
I don't
in the
know.
morning.
I literally don't have spell slots. So.
I know. I'm fully aware of this. I mean, you can explain that in character. You know, I don't have the energy to cast it right now.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
Just take a quick nap and you should be fine.
Okay.
Give me a persuasion check. I'm going to see if they actually believe that you can actually heal now at this point.
Well, I'm going to persuade them?
Yeah.
You should have to persuade yourself more so.
I want to know if she's starting to doubt whether or not you can actually heal.
I got a 19.
Okay. She looks at you. You say you're tired. She believes that, you know, again, seeing healing magic or anything of the divine in general, which I suppose that's not exactly where your power comes from, is still, you know, you hear about it, but you don't see it too often. So, but she believes you that you're tired and that you need to bolster your strength before you can attempt to do so. So, is that bed a Colin?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So, without hesitation, you start to climb into the bunk and start to let unconsciousness take you. And we kind of pan back away from that chamber as presumably Yezhin and Bo continue conversation with Lemnor for a short time until eventually, clearly from her wounds and exhaustion, she ends up falling asleep like mid-conversation.
Sorry, I just real quick. I just just wanted to talk to her about like, because he said that she was an explorer or always exploring, and already like my first thought is escape. So I just kind of, if we are talking, I would just be trying to get some general knowledge about the place and like what kind of exploring she does. So.
I would say during that conversation, you do manage to acquire the information that, you know, she's usually on hunting duties. She spends a great deal of her time, you know, she tries to travel alone a little too often, which, you know, kind of bugs Yezhin, because it's dangerous out there. But she's out there scouring for food and stalking giant rats that roam the ditches. So she is relatively familiar with a great deal of the tunnels around the camp. And you do catch the name of one Secher, Secher, the herbalist that is currently treating Lemnor. She ends up coming in and offering kind of a small tincture from kind of a makeshift clay cup made from the natural stone or kind of mud around here. Um, she
That sounds really gross.
I'll stress this as she kind of approaches. She does give off a very eerie and uncomfortable vibe because as she kind of approaches and steps in, she's a very cloaked and hooded figure, not very tall, four, maybe 4.5 feet at most. And as she kind of comes in, she kind of quietly greets you all and nods her head. And as she does prepare the tincture and raises her hands outstretched to aid Limnor with taking the tincture, I'm going to say, Bo, give me a perception check.
6.
Yeah.
Oh,
Everything seems all right. I will say, Professor, since they're having this conversation while you're trying to fall asleep, I'm going to say you probably haven't fallen asleep yet. Go ahead and give me a perception check, maybe at disadvantage. I'd say, because you're trying to fall asleep, right?
Okay, well, I rolled a 20 and a 13. So 13.
Okay, with the 13, you kind of peek an eye open with that kind of annoyance, like, you wanted me to heal, I'm trying to sleep. And you look over and crack an eye, and as she's kind of leaning forward to try to feed Limnor, you look at the hands, and the hands themselves seem to be almost intricately carved wooden hands. You can see them kind of crick and bend at the kind of makeshift wooden joints as she bends her hands to gently hold the cup. You can hear the kind of light scrape of wood on clay as she holds the hand and then pulls back, gently brushing the hair. You can see the kind of makeshift lines and connected wooden joint at the wrist as she kind of pets the hair of Limnor. And it's probably about that point after taking that tincture that Limnor starts to lose consciousness and seep into recovery. And we watch as Secker begins to collect her herbs in little medical pouch and starts to head back out into the campsite area and starts tending her little herb garden. A number of, an hour or two goes by. All of you are now kind of, except for maybe the professor, who's probably now actually unconscious, are all pretty exhausted.
I guess I go find some place to rest.
Abradis kind of looks to you. It's if you wish to use the bunks, they're located over there where your friend is. They're modest, but provide more comfort than the ground.
Appreciate it.
Rest well.
I guess. Thank you.
And he ends up kind of standing up and heading back over towards his forge. Seems to be working on some sort of small, intricate project, maybe working on one of his tools. And you start to head towards the bunks to try to collect yourself and get some rest. You approach and you see Bo and Yezhin in deep conversation, talking about kind of the more prevalent threats to the camp that seem to be of interest, learning a little bit more about, I would say that you're probably asking the kind of some of the same questions that were asked of Abradis, and Yezhin kind of updates you on that same thing. You hear about, everybody knows about the ditch gate, big circular thing with runic carvings all over it, and we've had people try to go in the past, and take my word, friend, it's not worth it. It's better to try to survive the tunnels. We've lost too many people trying to reach it. Trust me.
Yeah, I'll consider it.
Very well. Well, I'm going to try to get some shut-eye. Hope you have a good rest, and maybe you can help help on the patrols, help on the hunt tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd love to.
All right. Talk to you then. And he climbs up onto one of the bunks and kind of rolls over. A moment later, start to hear light snoring. Definitely has some sleep apnea.
Can I get in the bunk above Archimedes?
Okay.
Now I want to it's so I can't get comfortable, so I'm like rolling around on the bed a lot and jumping up and down and hitting my pillow to get it fluffed up.
By pillow, you mean the boulder.
Yeah.
Or the harder clay rock.
Yeah, that.
Okay. So yeah, you probably do hear a little bit of this off and on Archimedes throughout the night. Eventually, we see our RN come in and select a bunk and start getting some rest. Greg, you're kind of off by the fire. Eventually, since you're the only one still by the fire, you do see a female human comes and starts to approach the fire from around the kind of outer walls of the campsite that was kind of off to herself. She sits next to you, silently and kind of awkwardly for a moment. You're not sure if she's like off put or just nervous. Hello.
Hey.
Well, I noticed you and your party arrived not too long ago. It's wonderful to meet you. I'm Doyenta. So exciting to see new faces here. What's your name?
Hi, Doyenta. My name is Gregory.
Oh, that's a wonderful name. And well, if I may ask, Gregor, how did you find yourself in this hellish place?
Well, we were doing a quest to get some circulate, and we were in some sort of tomb place, and well, we opened up some door, and this really evil undead sorcerer, lich something came out, and he kind of went on a rant, and then he casted some spell. A bunch of light appeared, and then darkness, and then we all kind of appeared here. So that guy did it to us.
Interesting.
What about you?
Oh, well, I too found my way to an interesting rune. While there, I found a hidden wall that led to a stairwell that took to an antechamber. It was beautiful. I try to study the old world, the fallen civilization that we know so little of. It's kind of a passion of mine, honestly. That is the one silver lining to being here in the ditches, I suppose. Is, I have a theory that there might be some remnants of that ancient world here. I found this, and she kind of pulls out what looks like almost like the chip of a mosaic tile, and it looks like it might be part of the outer ring of a depiction of a sun. There's definitely combinations of that kind of fire orange and yellow blend, and immediately it makes you think of the kind of sigil on the white robes of that lich. Now, kind of again bringing back that scene to your mind. Part of that robe did have a depiction of what appeared to be the sun on it, and it very much reminds you of those colors.
Where'd you find this?
I found it not too far away from the prison. I thought it didn't really match this locale, obviously. So I started doing some investigating, and I found it just inside the entryway. It was, I don't know, the first time I thought maybe there might be some connection. Maybe when that civilization was lost, it was I don't know, maybe they were all destroyed and in some grandiose attempt or some cataclysmic event. I don't know, but to think some of that segment might be here in the afterlife, I don't know. I just find that fascinating, and I want to know more.
Sure. Well, the guy I mentioned earlier that sent us here, the colors of those tiles kind of resemble something he was wearing. So, that civilization, at least some people from it will be around.
Really?
And sent us here.
You watch as she immediately kind of pulls out a very ramshackled and like unconnected, like loose leaf book where like the pages are coming out and kind of scrapped together, as she scribbles on it as fast as she can, kind of fervently taking notes as you give these descriptions of this undead lich like creature that you described. And as you do this, I mean, she seems to be very focused on the information that you're sharing with her. Thank you so much. This has helped me greatly with my research. If you wish to, help me on my endeavors, if you see or find anything while you're here within in the trenches, here in the ditches, just if you're willing, I'd love for you to share your findings with me. Anything you can find.
Yeah, same to you. Keep me in the loop as well.
Of course. Well, I hope you have a wonderful night. She kind of stands up, kind of half bows, half curtsies a little bit, kind of pockets her journal in her satchel and kind of goes back off to her kind of makeshift. She seems kind of very loner. Instead of using one of the bunks, she seems to be kind of off to the side on a bedroll, just kind of keeping to herself. Eventually, she lays down and unconsciousness takes her, and you kind of find yourself sitting there by the campfire, Greg.
So I'll retire as well.
Okay. Greg, you kind of hop your way back over towards the bunk area, eventually finding a small little alcove where you can call, your bed for the night and lay your head. Eventually, unconsciousness takes you. And a couple things to know about long rests here in the ditches. So, the ditches is almost a certain preserved realm of decay. It is ever persistent, and unfortunately the inhabitants of its space are under its duress and suffering. So you get very little reprieve from injuries and ailments here. The result of any hit die rolled during a short rest is reduced by 2, a minimum of 1.
Shit.
And when you complete a long rest within the ditches, you can only recover 5 hit points and only recover 1 expended hit die.
Good thing we have low health, and have low hit dice.
Correct. But good to know. But with that being said, that's really the only things you have to know about this area. But please keep track of that. And remember, if you use a hit die, reduce it by 2. Bare minimum, you get 1. And you can only go up by 5 hit points for long rest. So technically, you're not going to be able to click that long rest button. You're going to have to do your manual edits for that.
You get your spell slots back, correct?
Yeah, you can just go down there and unclick them. So,
I'm at full health, so I was thinking I would just do it anyway.
Yeah, I was going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if you know mathematically it's not going to affect anything by clicking on the long rest button, then absolutely, yeah, do it. But you do want to keep track of your hit die because of how everything is. But ideally, you won't be in the ditches forever. So with that being said, everybody is level 2.
Oh.
Technically, you guys were supposed to be level 2 right after you guys
End it here?
basically, but it just made I felt that would slug things up. I think it made more sense to do it now. So everybody levels up. So since you're level 2, everybody gets max hit die. No having to roll for hit points until level 6. So
Running action. All right, yeah.
hell yeah. Bonus action.
Yep,
Dash.
dash and disengage and hide.
Yeah. Very, very good.
That's all I need to do. And we've been updated.
Yeah, rogues are pretty easy on the level up at level 2. And so for our spellcasters, any questions on spell selection or anything like that?
I don't think so.
Did you choose your extra spells?
It's not telling me to choose anything extra.
It's not going to from your character sheet, but if you go to spells and then manage spells, and then click on spells known, it'll show you have this many out of this many.
Oh yeah.
So you technically, during a long rest, can 1, change your spells, and 2, since you leveled, you get to make...
I can add 1 more.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've unlocked 2nd level spells yet.
I didn't.
I don't think it's still 3.
Yeah, I think it's level 3 too. So you get to choose another 1st level spell that you get to know.
Sweet.
Beautiful. Yeah. And those are solid spells, I see. Because I think you added, well, I don't want to spoil the spell you have if you want it to be a surprise. But I think I see the one that you selected. Cool. And did you up your health?
Oh yeah, that's the one. Oh.
So you want to go to
up 1.
manage.
It automatically It did it for me.
Did it give
That's
you
what I did.
max hit points?
Yeah,
I
it
only
says
went up
max
1
hit
HP.
point 12.
Yeah, you have to enter your rolled HP and put in your max hit die.
Yeah. So since you're level 2 and you have a D8 hit die, that's going to be 16 for HP rolled.
Huzzah!
Okay.
You get the total possible. That's what it is.
For the
That's my homebrew rule because it helps give you guys a little bit of extra HP cushioning.
Yeah.
For hit dice, it says 2d6 for sorcerer.
For a sorcerer, you get 2d6, so that's going to be 12 for HP rolled, and then it'll add your Constitution modifier twice, once for each level. It'll do it automatically. So
It's for some reason I have 6 HP rolled in my thing from the beginning.
Yep.
yeah,
That's because your first one. So now you will put your second one in there so you make it 12.
yeah. So now you just erase the 6 and put 12, and that's it. And then you should be at max hit points for a sorcerer.
Probably have 14 at the least.
Yeah.
Which you have 0 constitution.
No, I think John rolled pretty decently on his stats.
6 HP.
I think a lot of people rolled really decently on their stats. And I can't level up Arthur, but Arthur also went and laid down and went to sleep and leveled up. So, freaking beautiful. But I think that's where we'll go ahead and call tonight's session. I think that's a solid cutoff point. But does anybody have any questions or concerns about their level up or having any trouble with that?
Are we in a Lich's phylactery?
You are in a place that everyone seems to be calling the ditches. Everyone keeps saying that they're dead or you guys are in the afterlife, but I mean, you touch your flesh, you feel alive. It's definitely left you confused.
The guy said something about a phylactery before he casted that thing. Like, you'll be
Yeah, the Lich did, but also we literally heard a voice that said, like, this is not the end, or death isn't the end. And then we came back, so, like, part of me thinks that maybe we just got resurrected by something. But that's just, like, me thinking, not my character, so...
No. I get that. I mean, you don't know. I mean, that's the whole mystery of what's going on here. So,
Yeah.
But things are definitely amiss. I hope you're enjoying the dark vibes and the weird place that you guys are in. There's definitely going to be, and I'll tell you guys kind of in advance now, there will be kind of, I don't know, settlement system isn't quite the right way to put it. But there is going to be an aspect of, like, obviously helping the people here, making contributions here to help stabilize it, to help possibly one get strong enough to get out of here, if that's one way you're trying to get out of here, or to simply just trying to survive in this makeshift broken down camp. Because, like I said, everything is ramshackled and slapped together here.
Gotcha.
But to find out more about that next time, obviously you'll want to inquire with some of the NPCs that you've met at the campfire tonight to learn more, and that'll also give me more time to read the information, because you guys basically made it through all of episode 1, and we've even kind of leapt into a bit of episode 2, which I didn't think we'd get as far as we did there. So
Can you run me by the list of the NPCs' names again? So it was Yagan?
all right, so
That was the gnome, right?
Yejin,
Yejin.
Yejin.
Jin. Okay.
You met Abradus.
Greatest.
Abradus. Abradus. You met
half-elf.
He is a male half elf. You met Karagner, the female blue dragonborn. Karagner is Coragnir. Greg met Doyenta, a female human. And Bo and the professor have seen and or met Lemnor and Secker. Lemnor and Secher.
And what was the human's name again? I'm sorry.
That was Doyenta. Doyenta.
Okay, cool. That way I can ask you about certain when I want to talk to certain people about stuff. Whatever. Yeah, got it. Cool.
Definitely. Beautiful. Well, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm
Fun. Always fun.
I'm really enjoying the Grim Hollow setting. It's a very dark vibe.
Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah. My favorite part was when you killed all of us.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't write that part, but it definitely had that kind of Dark Souls, Elden Ring vibe to it, and obviously,
I liked it.
I've been enjoying the Elden Ring vibe, so I was like, yeah, I can dig that. I didn't like that it was over, like in the supplement that I have, it very much specifies there's only 2 of the guys, and as a DM, I do cutscene, but when I do cutscene, I try not to do things where I'm like describing what your characters are doing, because I'm not trying to take away the player agency when I'm setting a scene. I'm just trying to set a scene. But it very specifically tells the DM to, like, there's this big old skeletal crazy lich dude and his 2 kind of skeletal, what's the guy's name from Mortal Kombat with the 4 arms?
Oh.
Who?
Goro.
Yeah, these 2 Goro-like skeletons covered in silver and runes at his side, and they subdue the players and hold them in place while he monologues and, acts all grandiose, but is entertained by their struggle. It is very, very specific about that, and I'm like, well, there's like 4 players and there's 2 skeletal dudes. I mean, just by sheer numbers, that doesn't necessarily quite work. I mean, even if we're saying with the 2 halflings getting picked up by one and one kind of bear hugging and grabbing the other, that still leaves one free. And actually, no, we have 5 players in this group, so that leaves 2 free. So I was like, okay, so that means I literally have to sit there and be like, spells are done and this is done to create the scene that you were telling me needs to be created. And I don't like doing that. I hope it wasn't too horribly cutscened for that. But that's how episode 1 ends in this chapter. So,
cool.
Like I said, I hope y'all enjoyed. But
yeah, I had fun.
But yeah, next time we will explore the ditches further still and figure out how to survive in this crazy dark place. So, yeah, I'll talk to y'all later.
Yeah, and Aaron, I'll shoot you a text, but I'll probably head over